You need to leave. Vengeful spirits use young people like batteries. To that I say, big deal. This Roku remote uses batteries, almost at Sega Game Gear levels. But unlike the Sega Game Gear, which used 4 batteries, the Roku remote has only 2. And for those that can't do math, 2 is less than 4. But it still uses a lot of battery power. It's absolutely insane. But unlike the Sega Game Gear that had great 8-bit graphics for the time, and it was gaming on the go, it wasn't as great as a Game Boy, even though color could sometimes beat whatever the hell the Game Boy had, but the Game Boy had a grand library. The Sega Game Gear, if you brought a backpack full of batteries for a road trip that lasted anywhere longer than 8 hours, you were set. But when it comes to the Roku, you know what you get from this. You get thousands, perhaps even one day, millions of apps across the entire globe, and perhaps even one day across the entire universe. But the Roku isn't that self-aware yet. Maybe it is, though, because maybe there's something that's hiding, and maybe under its neat little buttons and all the colorful stuff about it, perhaps this technology will control us one day. It will influence us. We will do its very, very bidding. What is your secret? Well, I'm not going to get the answers here. Followers was written and directed by Marcus Harbin, who has done some shorts and television. Check out his IMDb page for the full listing. And this centers around a young man named Jonty. That's Jonty, not Jaunty, because he is a jaunty individual, but we had to change the spelling, apparently because maybe dictionary.com was going to get upset and say, don't use jaunty in this context. And he's played by Harry Jarvis, who basically he's a full-on dick. Not Harry Jarvis, the character of Jaunty. He is a social media influencer that, well, basically he fucked up and now he's lost followers and he's trying to regain his followers, and he decides, hey, I'm at university, I've got some friends, an eclectic collection of characters, and I have decided that what I'm going to do is our flat is haunted, so we're going to stream it, we're going to live stream it, we're going to figure out what the hell's going on, and wait, that is just Deadstream. Except you have less people in Deadstream than this, and there is less blood. Well, at least to a point. Okay, so it's basically Deadstream, just without the camera attached to the guy's skull. And you have other characters that pop up in this, and basically it's college life if ghosts decided to basically terrorize you, and it's found footage. And that right there probably be enough to turn people off. But don't worry, there are other things that could. Actually, that's rather unfair, because there are some moments in this movie that aren't bad. For a comedy horror movie with a small budget, at least I assume a small budget, it was fine for a time. The problem is the movie, it's very obvious who is actually behind all this stuff that's going on, and nothing's particularly shocking. And while, yes, some of the comedy hits, there is also some comedy that misses, and the movie just ends up being a resounding all right. I do want to give a little bit of a shout to some of the other actors in this. You have Becky, not Becky with the good hair, though she had decent hair. Nina Madra, and she's fine. You know, in this, you have Edward Lee, Orion Lee. Hey, Mr. Lee, we know that Orion's hard to pronounce, so we're going to give you the name of Edward. Fine, I'll do that. You have Zana Laurice Harrison, who actually I think is the standout in this movie, in all honesty. And you have a few other women that are quite attractive in this. You have Tanya Burr, that is. My goodness, she looked great. She plays a psychic girl. And then you also have Erin Austin, not Jane Austen, because Erin is a totally different name. And from there, you get people kind of acting like dicks and having their own agendas, and some people do certain things that, you know, like that just to advance the plot, such as it is, and sometimes character motivations go a little bit out of control, but it's found footage. I mean, what do you expect? It's not necessarily going to have anything grand. There are points in this movie that actually aren't that bad. I don't think this is as bad as some people have said, but I also don't know if it's necessarily as great as others have said. I kind of fall somewhere in the middle. If you really like this, great. If you didn't like it, that's also fine. I paid a few bucks to watch this on Amazon because, good, bad, or indifferent, I will gladly support people, and hopefully they can grow and do bigger and better projects. But it wasn't a waste of money. It just wasn't something that's necessarily going to stick with me, even though there were some good ideas. Just kind of ended up being there. when the Becky character comes along and is doing therapy and helping students out at this university, a university that seemingly only has about, these 4 students in particular, well, I mean, it becomes pretty obvious where they're going with it. So overall, yeah, I mean, followers, it's all about John T wanting to regain his reputation and gain more followers. First he wants 1 million, then that keeps smashing and smashing and smashing and smashing and doing some great stuff. It is set in Britain. Sorry, there is a very Scottish character named Pete. Very Scottish, so goddamn Scottish. I was expecting haggis to pour out of his eye. That's not even anything against the actor, it's just the way they made him play that. So, movie's fine. It's fine for what it is. It really does lose it in the last act because it's 83 minutes and it seems like it almost should have been part of like a new VHS anthology where you could have made this a 30 to 40 minute movie, about 30 minutes maybe, and it actually probably would have been better. I'm not knocking the fact that they made this a full-length feature. You do what you can, and if it gets you bigger and better projects, that's all good. But, the haunting stuff isn't particularly good. It just becomes really obvious by a few minutes in, and becomes even more obvious as time goes on. So there you go. That's really all I have to say. Also, Roku remote. If you don't have a Roku's a pretty good device to have. No, I'm not sponsored, but whatever. And also, it seems like there's a wraparound story, almost VHS style. It is what it is. It falls somewhere in the middle. I'm not going to say don't watch it. I'm just not going to say watch it and expect something grand. So that's really all I have to say right there. A few decent moments. The people do what they can with the plot such as it is. But now I'm going to get into spoilers. So there we go. We go 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Haha. Okay. There's a dead girl named Dawn. Dead by Dawn. That's really what the subtitle of this should have been. But she's been trying to communicate with various people. There's weird rave music. There was a lunatic guy running around in the basement. Becky tries to communicate with him, and he ends up basically offing himself. Also, Aaron Austin, and Harry Jarvis, they get together here. I mean, taking a look at Amber, boy howdy, can't necessarily blame him there. But he kind of treats her a little bit badly. Also, Becky clearly is in on this whole goddamn thing, and is in on this thing. Now, we get various day breaks, day 1, day 6, day 10, day 38, 45. We just continue to go because they are trying to gain more followers and increase the amount of followers and followers. Yeah, trying to be a social media influencer can't get tired, and especially when you lose sight of the fact that some people, people are actually people and they aren't just numbers. So, yeah, they hunt for ghosts. They do goofy lines like searching for clues, splitting up, searching for clues. Is there anyone else at the school is what I noted. I mean, again, I know small budget, but good God. Becky tries to warn him or whatever. You need to leave because there are vengeful spirits that use young people like batteries. They just drain from them and drain from them. There's drawers opening up. There's all this weird stuff going on. And some people are buying this, some people aren't. Well, then the ghost finally does appear. Becky's saying John T's playing a dangerous game. Becky has her own channel that she's using for influence, self-help books and all that. She does therapy. She's helped out Amber with meds and therapy. Bit of a hint, a big hint, as it were. And, well, please just let me in, John T. Gee, that's just what you want to hear from somebody that's trying to help you. Also, Zana has a grandma that doesn't like where she is in the hospital. They had to sell the house to pay for her care. And now nurses are taking care of her. And she notices a weird guy behind her. Who is that person? Behind you, behind you, behind you. And yeah, then that one weird guy that was in the goddamn basement that freaks out and clearly is nuts, tries to attack Zana, but then takes his own life when Becky tries to talk to him. And they decide to kind of call the whole thing off, like, for a bit, but then the socials take off, they get sponsors, and they go immediately back. All this stuff happens within a very, very short time. And they show Jaunty's cheating. I mean, take a look at Aaron Asta and tell me why you would cheat on her. I mean, why you would cheat in general. I just want to say, but look at her. If she's going to want to get with somebody that clearly has no redeemable qualities like Jaunty as far as a character, then you would want to stay with somebody like that. They get to 10 million subscribers. They party and do raves. And then the Dawn Ghost shows up because you have Ilana Clark, who earlier in there, I'm getting a D. I'm sorry, I laughed immaturely. I'm terrible. That was Tanya Burr. And the ghost gets summoned, all this stuff and everything. And there was a cassette in the wall where the men can hear it all. And Dawn was basically saying, unmake me what? So they bring this guy, Edward Lee, along, who's a paranormal guy who has one of those paranormal investigator shows. Pete kind of plays a joke on him and exposes him as a fraud, so to speak. But there are worse things than ghosts, was a line that was said about 10 times in this movie. Bit of a hint. And Zana basically is working on her own project. What is the project? All this wraparound to maybe talk about Jaunty being a bad person, or perhaps just exposing the ridiculousness of the whole thing. Or maybe as a way to get the story out into the world, because we get to day 50. It's a day 1 of 50 in the beginning, now we're at day 50. The grand finale. It turns out that Becky had killed Dawn and was doing this for just reasons. Why not? Making ghosts. Because why not? Because why the hell not? Also, she controlled Amber, and Amber killed herself. And then it turns out she's controlling other people. She controlled Pete. She controls everybody at this school. You know, all 4 people that have been at this school. And it turned out she controlled that guy, Jim, the weird guy that was running around the basement. And she stabs Zana. She's trying to convince Jaunty, please, we need to go do this. We need to take care of her. And then you'll have all the influence that you want. But then it turns out that she actually filled the room with some kind of gas and set it on fire after Jaunty freed Zana and she ran away. And then they blow up. Dawn's ghost gets Becky. And it seems like Jaunty and Zana are fine. Except, no. Zana actually forgot that she went to Becky's therapy sessions. And now she controls her. Too many pronouns, pal. Sorry, Vince McMahon. And Zana chokes him, uploads the video, so now the message is spread to the world, I guess? Yeah, that was a little bit weird. It was almost Ring-like, except the Ring had, You know what? Followers wasn't awful, it just wasn't great. I give it a C. It is what it is. I probably would have given it a higher grade, but it really starts to lose steam in the third act. I mean, it just gets bonkers and ridiculous, which normally I like. But in this case, it was like they were just trying to do everything they could to wrap up the story because they didn't have a lot of time left. So there you go. Becky with the ghost hair. So agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.